Hey, Steelers fans! It's no secret. Our Pittsburgh Steelers have been fighting through adversity all season long. The team is determined to push forward, improve every week, and bring those much-needed wins home to the Steel City. But we've hit another rough patch, with injuries piling up yet again after our showdown with the Ravens. Before we break everything down, do us a quick favor. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you stay updated with everything Steelers. Your support fuels us, just like your passion fuels the team. All right, let's dive into the latest updates on our squad and what it means moving forward. Saturday's game against the Baltimore Ravens wasn't just a battle on the scoreboard. It was a war of attrition. Unfortunately, wide receiver Ben Skowronek became the latest victim of the injury bug, leaving the game in the middle of a crucial 10-play, 73-yard drive that ended with a touchdown by Michael Pruitt. Skowronek suffered a hip injury and is currently listed as questionable to return. For those who've been following his journey, you know Skowronek isn't just a receiver. He's a special teams ace who's won over fans since joining the practice squad in August. After spending time on the reserve injured list earlier this season, he returned and has been making his presence felt on the field. On Saturday, Skowronek had already notched 2 catches for 25 yards, his best single-game performance this season, before the injury. With George Pickens missing his 3rd consecutive game due to a hamstring issue, Skowronek's contributions were a glimmer of hope in an otherwise depleted receiving corps. As if losing Skowronek wasn't enough, the defense suffered its own setback with cornerback Joey Porter Jr. leaving the game in the first quarter due to a right calf injury. Porter had to be helped off the field by the medical staff, and his status remains questionable. With veteran cornerback Dante Jackson back and safety Deshaun Elliott hamstring already ruled out, the secondary is running dangerously thin. The Steelers turned to James Pierre, who stepped up as the starter after Jackson's injury last week. And while Pierre has shown flashes of reliability, the lack of depth in the secondary is becoming a glaring issue. The list of injured players is starting to look like a roster of its own. George Pickens, hamstring. Our star wideout remains sidelined, leaving a significant void in the passing game. Justin Fields, abdomen. The backup QB is still out, limiting our options under center. Larry Ogunjobi, groin. His absence weakens the defensive line. Deshaun Elliott, hamstring. A key loss in the secondary. Let's not forget the recent 27-13 loss to the Eagles, where our defense gave up 401 yards and 3 touchdowns from Jalen Hurts. Injuries have been a major factor, and we've got to wonder, how much more can this team endure? Despite the mounting injuries, head coach Mike Tomlin remains as steady as ever. Here's what he had to say earlier this week. We've got a lot of capable players in that space that we've been really comfortable with, and we've been blessed with some depth there. Whether it's James Pierre or Corey Trice when called upon, both guys have delivered to a satisfactory level. Tomlin's confidence in the next man up is reassuring. But let's face it, there's only so much depth a team can rely on before cracks start to show. Do you share Tomlin's confidence, or are you starting to worry about how these injuries could impact our playoff hopes? In the closing moments of the first half, things got heated after the Steelers recovered a fumble deep in Eagles territory. On the play, Steelers tight end Darnell Washington kept blocking Eagles cornerback Darius Slay well after both players exited the end zone. Slay, clearly unhappy, retaliated by throwing a punch. Enter Calvin Austin III. The Steelers' wideout didn't hesitate to back up his teammate, stepping into the fray, which quickly escalated into a full-blown scuffle. Players from both teams piled in, turning a routine play into a chaotic scene. The result? Both Washington and Austin were flagged for unsportsmanlike conduct, moving the Steelers back from the Eagles' 4-yard line to the 19. Instead of a potential touchdown, the Steelers settled for a field goal, a critical turning point in the game that ended in a 27-13 loss for Pittsburgh. The NFL wasted no time handing out fines after the incident, hitting 7 players from both teams with penalties. Steelers fines: Calvin Austin III, $6,173 for unsportsmanlike conduct. Darnell Washington, $6,160 for his role in the scuffle. Eagles fines, Darius Slay, $1,469 despite not being flagged during the game. Quinion Mitchell, $14,069 for his involvement. Zach Bond, $8,888 for unnecessary roughness. Sidney Brown, $6,881 for unnecessary roughness. Jalen Carter, $11,817 for unnecessary roughness. It's notable that Slay and Mitchell received the heaviest fines, even though they weren't penalized during the game. The NFL clearly wanted to send a message about controlling emotions on the field. This scuffle wasn't just a dramatic moment. It directly affected the Steelers' momentum. Instead of being in prime position to score a touchdown, the penalties pushed the offense back 15 yards. What could have been a 7-point swing turned into just 3 points on the board. In a game where the Steelers struggled to keep pace with the Eagles' high-powered offense, every missed opportunity mattered. And while the penalties didn't lose the game outright, they certainly didn't help. You know Mike Tomlin wasn't thrilled about this. While he didn't call out specific players, his post-game comments hinted at the need for discipline. We've got to maintain our composure in critical moments. Football is an emotional game, but we can't let emotions dictate our actions on the field. Tomlin's message is clear. The Steelers need to channel their fire into playing smarter, not harder. What this means for Steelers Nation, we all love seeing our players stand up for each other. That's the kind of brotherhood that defines the Steelers. But at what cost? Those penalties and fines don't just hurt the players' wallets, they hurt the team's chances of winning. Still, there's something undeniably Pittsburgh about Calvin Austin stepping in for Darnell Washington. It's that grit, that we've got each other's backs attitude that makes us proud to cheer for this team. But now we have to ask ourselves, how do we balance that passion with the discipline needed to win games? The loss to Baltimore is a tough pill to swallow, especially with the stakes so high in the AFC North. But the season isn't over yet. Here's what we need to focus on moving forward. Deontay Johnson and Pat Freiermuth will need to shoulder the load in the passing game. Najee Harris and Jaylen Warren must keep the ground game alive to take pressure off Russell Wilson. With key players out, it's up to veterans like J. Watt and Minkah Fitzpatrick to rally the defense. Can they keep the unit performing at a high level despite the absences? This team has shown grit all season long, and now they'll need every ounce of it to push through these challenges. Now it's time for the most important part of this video, hearing from you. How concerned are you about the growing list of injuries? Can this team overcome them and stay competitive? Who do you think needs to step up the most with players like Pickens, Skowronek, and Porter out? Do you believe in Tomlin's next man up mentality, or are you starting to feel the weight of these absences? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. We want to hear from every single one of you. Steelers Nation, let's show our support for the team through thick and thin. Make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you're always in the loop. Together, we'll ride out this storm and come back stronger. Because if there's one thing we know, it's this. You can never count out the Pittsburgh Steelers. Here we go!